Welcome to the Spiritual Sweet Spot, a place where you can rejuvenate your soul. Hosted by author M.B. Mosley. This is a safe space for all. All right, we are back, family. We are back. We are continuing to harvest this love energy for this month, knowing and understanding that every single month is full of love, sending love and light to you and your family, and love, peace, and happiness to you all. Let's get it started. All right, family, get in here. Let's continue on talking about the energy as it pertains to relationships. And in the last conversation, we were building a little bit there on finding out what a foundation for a relationship may look like, and also talked a little bit about building healthy spiritual relationships, depending on whatever your methodology is. If it's writing down a list, considering that list is healthy and that it sticks true to who you are. And then we talked a little bit of those that do the writing for manifesting, known as scripting, making sure as well that you are staying true to yourself with your intentions, with your positive intentions on that script pad. All right, so let us continue. Number one, understanding, we'll go back to this theme. Like energy attracts like energy. We go back to the example where I've given an example of when I was deeply engrossed in my addiction, on how toxic, unhealthy, vile, distorted, disillusioned those relationships were. Because as I was submerging myself in my addiction, my partners were submerging themselves in their addictive likes and substances and things they chose to do. All right, so let us continue talking about relationships. So we did a good work on the first part, but I wanted to really touch base with this next part. So understanding that being single is not a end or be it. The one thing that I would say to single people is also taking the moment in your singleness to enjoy your life to its full abundance, to do a discovery of who you are to your core. Loving yourself, cherishing yourself, spoiling yourself, spending loads and loads and loads of time with self. Within these single moments, it's always imperative to really find out who you are as a person. And trust and believe, I've mentioned before, we are evolving and our tastes, our beliefs grow as we grow as well. And our beliefs change as we grow into the knowledge of different things that, at that time were relevant to us. And now we hang on to something else that's now the thing that's more relevant to you personally as a person. Nevertheless, the most important thing you could do for yourself in your singleness is to really understand what makes you work. Work in your joy, work in your being, work in your soul, work in your spirit. Who are you? These are fundamental questions to seek, to find, to go inner, to resolve. And the reason why I bring this up is because earlier on I touched on the point that we come from different backgrounds. And it wasn't until I was in my early 30s where I found out through therapy that there were some things that were foundationally wrong with the environment that I grew up in. So what I perceived as love was not love. I understood why I was not a hugger because I never got hugged. I understood why my patterns, behaviors were the way they were because they were now illuminated by a professional in a safe space. Now, you all understand that I am a proponent of healthy minds, right? I am a proponent of therapy. You find what works for you, but it's all about digging deep into your soul, looking yourself in the mirror, looking your soul in your mirror, in the mirror in your eyes, and finding out who you are. I believe that this recipe has always been the recipe of success into the propelling of a healthy relationship. I am reminded of the moments that I spent time by myself. The moments were ironic because here it was, I was stepping into sobriety and a lot of changes had to happen. That means the group, the potsies, the people, the associations I had to evolve and change. I left my environment, moved 30, 40 minutes away to a place where I knew no one. So for the first time in my life, I was by myself, sequestered. And all I focused on was going to work and working on my physical strength. I discovered a lot about myself at that time. Some of it was uncomfortable because I was not used to just being by myself. So at first it was very, very uncomfortable. I was so tempted in so many parts and places and points to call my kickball sisters, to call my friends, my associates, my used to be drinking buddies to hang out with, but I knew that it would unravel everything I was trying to do for my life. The purpose in which I had left a community to move far away from people, to work on myself, to live by myself, to go deep inside myself to save my life from this stronghold of alcoholism. So I lived it day by day. I took it step by step. As uncomfortable as it was, I just took it day by day. Sooner or later, I was comfortable in going to the theaters, taking myself out for matinees, going to dine out by myself, and going to the park by myself, and going to a lot more events by myself. Sooner than later, it became the norm for me. Sooner than later, I discovered how much I enjoyed my own company, to the point where I would rather just keep myself company. So my message to you, once again, perhaps it's not necessarily, someone that's striving to be sober or away from their friends and so forth, but just perhaps doing a self-inventory of the thing that matters to you the most as an individual in your singleness. Finding something that brings you joy. Perhaps it's a hobby that you can maybe monetize. Perhaps it's a project that you've been working on that can also keep you busy. Let life unfold naturally by itself, because what happens sometimes is if the minds are idle and we're single, the next thing we're going to do, sometimes out of desperateness, or sometimes, and not saying you're desperate, but just sometimes out of the atmosphere of desperateness, or just maybe being tired of the situation, we might try to take things into our own hands, which can foster superficial relationships or relationships that are not meant to be in our way at that time. So, once again, I propose to those that are single in these moments of singleness to find gratification. Go deep within. Revisit those places, those parts of yourself that perhaps you're like I was at one point in time. Perhaps at that time I was getting tired of my weight. So, I had time. So I wasn't doing anything. So the gym became my go-to place. Or perhaps, you like to watch movies, but you are single. Try going to watch a movie by yourself. It's not that bad. It's in the dark anyways. Like I said, initially it was uncomfortable, but you get used to just doing things by yourself. And the power of finding who you are. For me, the power of finding who I was in my singleness helped me in my relationship. Because being in a relationship My husband, he does his own thing and I do my own thing in the terms that we are a couple, but he has his own identity. I have my own identity. My husband has his own passions, things that he's passionate about. So I'm not idly sitting by saying, I'm bored. What are we going to do? And or cooped up underneath him all the time and not having anything of my own to do. So therefore, I say to the single people out there, if you find in yourself with time on your hands and you're single, perhaps you could rediscover or discover things that could be lifetime hobbies or things that you may love to enjoy on your own. The preconceived notion is that once you're in a relationship or if you're married, that person is supposed to make you happy. They're supposed to be your end all be it. No, ma'am. No, sir. That's not how that goes. I could tell you that right now. I'm in a relationship. We're married, but he has his own passions and things that he gets in his lab. Won't see him for maybe 24 hours while he's in the tinkering, doing his thing. And I'm over here on my podcast if I'm not writing or if I'm not binge watching Netflix. Okay. But the point being is finding a place where you maintain your identity, even if it's a boyfriend, girlfriend, boyfriend situation where there's no marriage involved. It also helps in those relationships that sometimes find themselves at an impasse or sometimes, breakups happen. That person wasn't your all, be it, and all. So therefore your life is now just obsolete because they're gone. No, you were still doing band practice with your band, or they were still singing lead with their band, and you still got a love and a passion for yourself. The one thing that I found that maintains our relationship is our separate identities. We are similar people to the core, but our separate identities maintain our relationship. It's one of the things that I found that maintains our relationship. And that's one of the advices I would give single people right now that are out there. And the reason why I also go there to these realms was because I used to suffer from codependency. When I was in my addiction. I had to have someone. And because I suffered from codependency, I was not vetting the people. As long as it was anybody that looked at me that was plausible enough to be in a relationship with me, then it worked because I didn't want to be by myself. But that type of energy drew in like energy. Somebody that just wants to be in a relationship, que sera, sera, that, don't want to be by themselves. And we're just, you're doing you, I'm doing me. I'm drinking myself to sleep. You're drinking and smoking yourself to sleep, whatever the case was. So there was no healthiness there, right? Right. So you always hear me talk about like energy attracts like energy as it pertains to these intimate relationships. Codependency is not I'm not a therapist, from my understanding, not the most healthiest thing to have or to be in. There's things that stem from that. My therapist walked me through that, started to unpeel that onion and the layers of those onions, shoot, it was a whole bag of onions, but started to unpeel the layers of that onion, finding out the deepest, darkest parts. Even though by that time, I would say I was sustaining singlehood with part of my sobriety and the little part of my addiction. I was single for about 5 years before I met my husband. But even in therapy, going back and talking about these moments, my codependency cost me at 25 years old a very, very heartbreaking relationship. So let's continue talking about like energy attracts like energy. All right. So discovering and establishing who you are. Remember, I understand that we are evolving. We're not going to understand in one setting who we are, right? But getting the better qualities out of us, understanding who we are, how we are, what makes us tick, what we love, what you're passionate about, what moves you, and even just the process of even figuring it out sometimes. That's a process on its own. It's a journey on its own. Taking your time in your singleness to establish that. Now, let's go deeper into the next part. understanding that like energy attracts like energy. Being in this conscious community, it's about being aware of your surroundings, being aware of who is in your group, who you gravitate to, even with these relationships. This conversation is for all, but I'm specifically going to speak to women because I have the experience as a woman. Hence, when one of the reasons why I always say like energy attracts like energy is because if we're not too careful or too mindful, I should say, if we're not mindful of the company we keep, the company we keep could pull us down with them. Okay. So here's the thing. Here's my mindful tidbit to single women. This has always been my gauge. And the reason why I've always say that, even though I tell you all that I've never had a list, I've just always had this. I wish you could see my hands. I got one hand on top of the other where it makes just like this straight going forward together here. My left hand is on top of my right hand just to build like the straight line. And what that signifies or symbolizes to me is my thing in life was you were going to meet me where I was from where you were. So once again, from the other podcast, meaning, I was at the time a mortgage owner. I had a mortgage. So that means I had a place of my own to live. I had my own car, 2 cars, but I had my own transportation. I was working, all around the year. And, I had a lifestyle. So the person had to come meet me right there where they are, where I am, right? Without having to pull someone in and make them get to where I'm at. That's a lost cause. We about to dive real deep, ladies. But, so in a sense, this is just for anybody that's joining this podcast right now, did not listen to the previous podcast. So in a sense, whoever was coming into my life had to be responsible enough to pay a rent, mortgage, roommate bill. They had to have their own transportation. They had to have a full-time job throughout the year. They had to know those responsibilities as well. There was no free ride with Miss Memo. No ma'am. So I say all that to say, speaking specifically to women, because that's my experiences there. Now, when you look at your life as a woman, if you do have a list, or if you are putting your significant other in a script form where you're writing down what you want to manifest, you have to take into consideration. Earlier on, I'd said in the other podcast, do not waver for the things that are important to you. Though perhaps where I was gauging things could be considered perhaps superficial for other people, but those things were very important. And with where I was measuring my significant other have to be, I was looking at the emotional, physical, spiritual, mental state as well. So all of that was counted into that equation. So with the ladies, when you're looking at your single life, look into your significant other to be, you got to ask yourself, what is the ask for the other person? Because hear me out and hear me well. Like I said, I'm a woman. I can only speak from women experiences and my little experiences that I've had. Okay. Some women have this tendency to say, okay, well, Joseph is he's going to the local community college and he's going to be a world classified artist and he's doing the best that he can. Yet you're out here, you pay rent, you have a car, you have responsibilities, you know how to do your responsibilities. Joseph lives at home with his mama. He's got no responsibilities. His mom pays his cell phone bill. And so you are looking for Joseph in his future. But we're on this journey in the now. So my point is, hold on, pause, don't misconstrue my words, because we're not looking at superficiality. We're not looking at superficial things, and we're not looking at materialistic things. We're looking at realistic things. As women, sometimes, not all women, I know for myself, there was a tendency to be a savior. There was a tendency to see potential and ride for the wrong potential. It was by experience and experiences that I learned that I cannot save people, especially people that don't want to be saved. I realized that, you know what? Humankind is humankind. People change when they want to change. So that's why my thing in life just became like, listen, we're going to keep it right here. I have these responsibilities in life, so they have to come with these responsibilities in life as well. And then we have the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual aspects of that, which are for me, were very important. So women, when you, in your singleness, as you endeavor to look for your significant other, it's not your job or your position to play savior. It's not your job or your position to fix a man. Because I'm going to tell you something, ladies. Let me tell you something. This is for the grown folks. Okay. Grown folks 18 and over. And especially talking to the classification of women, preferably 25 and over, but it's okay if you're 18 and over too, because you probably are in relationships. But between 18 and 25, sometimes people are just trying to build and, figure it out. But listen, ladies, it's not our job to fix anyone. It's not our job to accept anyone that's less than you. It's not our job to accept the bare minimum. Okay, we're not talking about superficial materialistic things, but we're talking about you manifesting the greater good for yourself. It's about believing that you deserve the best. It's about believing that you deserve somebody to come in and match up with you and keep it moving. I've always said, here are how some relationships can be determined as prosperous. If you both come in 50-50 and go up. But the minute, and when I say 50-50 and go up, I'm talking about when you meet someone that's more, I hate to say on the level, because then that's like, what does level mean? But for me, when I put the example of level, it was somebody that was responsible in their dwelling spaces, responsible by having their transportation, responsible by having a job, responsible spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally. Those are things that matter to me. So ladies, here's the thing. We're not fixer-uppers. We're not he'll do for now. I'm get him some shoes, get him a jacket, get him all this. I could do something with this. It's not men are not projects, because you will be sorely disappointed. You will be sorely disappointed. What you deserve, the way you deserve it, deserves to come to your life exactly the way you deserve it. Okay? Here's some red flags. Here's some red flags. If you ever find yourself dating a grown man and you're making an excuse for him, that's your red flag number one. Oh, he just got out of prison last night. He's looking for a job. That's not your problem. Let him look for a job. Let him situate, stabilize, and then we'll reconvene from there. You are not running a rehabilitation program for strays. No disrespect, but just saying it. There you go. Red flag number one. When you are making an excuse, well, he used to work for 3 years and he got laid off and he's been laid off for 1 year. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Listen. I just want to be real with you all, because I need you to understand we're going somewhere here. Hold on to what I'm saying right now. Just hold these little points. We are going somewhere. In just a second, we're going somewhere. Okay. And it's not about being superficial. It's not about being materialistic. Listen, there is that high school sweetheart love. Y'all come together at 18. Y'all ain't got nothing. Y'all got your first apartment together. Lovey-dovey, married, whatever, together, ride or die, whatever it is. And y'all making it work, right? Relationships are all different. But what I'm talking about is the single woman that's purposely out there knowing what they're worth, but settling. And when they settle, they put an excuse behind it. And this excuse is always based on this grown man's circumstances. Red flag number 1. Excuses on a grown man's circumstances. If you're able to get up, go to work, do what you have to do to put a plate of food on your table, you should demand the same, if not more. Don't get somebody that doesn't put a plate on the food on the table. Listen, I mean, what are they bringing to the table? Right? Isn't that the greatest question that everyone wants to know? What do you bring to the table? What do you bring to the table? Heck, you can't bring the silverware, the plates, the napkin, and the food. Hold on to these points. I'm telling you, we're going somewhere right now. You gotta, you scripting, you writing down on your list. You deserve exactly what you deserve plus some. Plus some. Whatever you think you deserve plus some. Now, understand that this is no contradiction. This is not a contradiction from the last podcast, from what I was talking about, wanting to write down you want Jason Momoa, but you out here like living at Dunkin' Donuts. No disrespect to Dunkin' Donuts. And you just like, your lifestyles are so opposite. Like, you cannot want something that's 100% opposite of what you are. That's kind of called hypocritical. Right? But the point of the moral of the entire story from the last podcast to this one is creating yourself to being the person that you want to attract to you. Like energy attracts like energy. Anywhoosies, let's go on. Now I'm specifically talking for the women because I'm a woman. And fellas, this is not a dig on you all, because there's a lot of amazing men out here that are a lot of single amazing men that are holding it down. But I'm approaching my ladies out here right now. You deserve great men. You deserve a great man to take good care of you. And that doesn't mean financially, emotionally, mentally, and blah, 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 blah. Just means a great support, a safe space, and somebody that's there with you for you. Okay? And therefore, and me saying all of that, this still doesn't mean you have to, if you are in a certain elevation in your life, doesn't mean you have to dig down to the bottom of the pot and pull up a project. Listen, I'm just saying that's not what that necessarily means. Now, if you feel like you Mother Teresa and that's what you like to do, and you feel like that's what your journey here on earth is called for, is to help those that are less fortunate by pulling them into your fold, grooming them up, fixing them up, helping them along the way, then that's on you. This is the zero judgment zone. But out of my experiences as a woman, what I'm going to caution women, because hold on to all these points. We're going somewhere. We're about to just jump into it right now, right around the corner here. This is where all of this is going to right now, ladies. This is not going to sound grammatically correct, but you're going to get what I'm getting to. Okay? How you find them is how you keep them and how they leave you. Listen to that. Listen to that. So meaning that your foundation of your relationship is the most important. Understand something. When you find a man, right, and you think, okay, well, remember, red flag number 1, if a grown man has all these circumstances, they're excuses, right? Circumstances, excuses. Therefore, it's a big red flag. And then if you find yourself making excuses for a grown man, it's a red flag. It's a red flag. But listen to where I'm going with this. Listen to where I'm going with this. Because when you get together with that person, relationship is going. Y'all are together 6 months. Y'all are together a year. Don't start calling your friends or your homegirls or whoever complaining about that guy. Don't do that. Don't start calling about, girl, I have to pay all the bills at the restaurant. He don't even pick up a bill at the restaurant. He's not even picking up the tab, because you meant the project. You wanted the project. This was all you. You saw a fixer-upper, right? You wanted a fixer upper. You didn't mind paying for the whole time you all were, smitten. You didn't mind doing all of that. Remember, I was telling y'all to hold them little points we were talking about, because this is where we were coming right here. Right here is where we were coming to. And that's what I'm saying. When you're sitting up here making excuses for a grown man, then you know that's the biggest red flag. And now I'm talking to the women that are out here established on a path. Perhaps they have found their flow. They know who they are spiritually within their being. The sisters that are just shaking and making and moving. Okay? Because I know that life hands us different stages. I understand that. I've been through those stages as well, right? But I'm talking about that woman that gets up. She has a little career. She has a little, little thing about herself, a little responsibilities. She's shaking and moving and baking. Then you go get a project. A project? No, you deserve somebody to at least bring, heck, one plate or something. Shoot, some silverware to the table, some linens or something. But when you take somebody that's not bringing anything to the table, and then they move in with you, then they eating up all your food, using up all your electricity, using up all your water, using up all your stuff. A year later, you be like, he doesn't even pay anything. And how is he supposed to listen? This goes back to part and parcel of how we should always show people how to be treated. This is it. You cannot expect your relationship to flourish if you started with certain, not even expectations, certain standards, not even expectation standards. You cannot take in a project and a year later complain about it. No. We cannot ignore red flags. And I want you to understand something. I am not talking about superficial materialistic things. I'm talking about things that make relationships function on a day-to-day basis. Things that keep you sustained on a day-to-day basis. The ancient book of wisdom says, be ye evenly yoked. Evenly yoked meaning to me in the spiritual journey, be he of the same energies, baby. So that means if you see you out here being the responsible model citizen doing your thing, you got a vision, a destiny, a place to be. The best thing you might want to align yourself up is someone that's going somewhere as well. Because here's what happens. This is the whole entire enchilada where we were coming to is once you set your whatever you said, remember, it's not grammatically correct. How you find them is how you keep them. Okay. And sometimes how you keep them is how they leave you. Meaning that if your foundation was never sturdy, if you accepted bullcrap from the get-go, then you're going to get crap, right? And you're not going anywhere. You're not going to build. And here's the other thing, ladies. When we accept our standards, I hate to use the word standards, to be honest with you, but when we lower down what we deserve in life, and we pull on projects, we pull on fixer-uppers, we pull on strays, we adopt strays. Then 6 to 8 months later, we want to call our friends and burden them with it. That's not the way it goes. You have to, in this conscious community, my job is to just teach all to be conscious. To be conscious is to be aware, and to be aware is to be conscious. We're working with all things energy. I need y'all to put on your spiritual glasses right now and see where this whole enchilada is unfolding to, right? So do not misconstrue when I say making excuses are red flags, right? Because perhaps there's a relationship, y'all just came out of college together, you both graduated, you both, are out here on the market looking for jobs. You have been in long-term relationships since you've been in college. Maybe the female has found the job, or one of you, which is just that one of you has found a job first, and the other one is still looking for a job. That's understandable, but still have your spiritual glasses on, right? I mean, 2-3 years later, you still haven't found a job. What search are you doing? Which then begs the other question. Are we carrying around dead weight? Or are we just going along just to get along? Or is this still fresh? Is this still happening? I just wanted to bring us to this point. I wanted you to hold all those little points so we could get to this point to understand, because I'll always go back to owning our own responsibilities, on understanding that this life we live has been plagued with free will. Okay, the power to choose. Everything we choose ultimately affects our destiny. That's your legacy. So therefore, choose wisely. Have the discernment to understand. Yeah, the guy might have been sweet, funny, handsome, and everything like that, but he's got zero going for himself. And here you are. You got some things established for yourself. You see yourself, you're a visionary. You see yourself going somewhere. So what do you think, if you align yourself together with this person, where y'all gonna go? Where are you going up, or usually the other person with absolutely nothing? Y'all just gonna pull it. Who's gonna pull who down? And I'm not saying that's necessarily the outcome, but have their awareness. Be mindful of the energies that you bring into your fold. Not every energy will approach you like a red demon with two horns, or like a serpent, or whatever the mystic animals of evil look like. Not everything that's set to stray you up, to stray your path, to set your path astray, is going to show up in anything recognizable. All right? It's about paying attention, assessing the situation. This is what I've always told my sister. I say, never be afraid to walk away from a relationship. The reason why I've always say that to my sisters is because some women have this in them more so than men, where you find yourself in a relationship. Back to the college analogy, y'all high school sweethearts, y'all went to the same college, you were in this relationship, it just was, trugged along from high school, came into college, but y'all have clearly just grown apart. Come on now. But then when we're out on the job market looking for jobs, one of the spouses gets a job, and then the other one, you start to see they have no work ethic. Like, they're trying not to do anything or go anywhere or do anything about themselves. And you're realizing that, wow, we have grown so far apart. But some women will value, but we've been together since we were 16 in high school. But you know that this is not it. It's time to go. Don't be afraid to get your suitcase and go. Because if you hold yourself into content with a dead relationship, next part is y'all get married, y'all bring kids, and it's just dead. It's just dead. It never gets better. Trust and believe. I'm sorry. I hate to be the bearer of bad news today. I'm just shooting it straight like it is. I'm not here to fluff anybody's pillow. It's just the honest truth. You pacify something that's dead and gone. It couldn't be resuscitated. That's what's the energy is going to come from it. More dead things are just going to sprout from it. So never be afraid to walk away from a relationship. Has always been my mantra per se. And that doesn't mean do not have long suffering or unconditional love. That means love yourself so much that when you've been with somebody since you were 16, y'all went to the same college, y'all graduated together, but he done cheated on you like 700 times, but you think this is the guy for you. What do you think long-term looks like? Misery and unhappiness and just betrayal of trust and... girl, no. Don't be afraid to get your bag and start afresh. You deserve it all, Move with an understanding. That's why it was so important for me to start off with that self. And it's so important to highlight at the start of this, of understanding who you are. Relationships are so much more enjoyable when an individual knows who they are and what they want out of life. Understand that we don't know it all 100%. When I met my husband, I wasn't 100% dialed in, but I knew what I wanted and what I didn't want from a relationship. I knew what I wanted and what I didn't want. Don't negotiate with your life, because however your relationship starts is the indicator, the predecessor, it's the introduction to how your relationship will last over the years or over time. You have free will, meaning you have the power of choice. You make the choices. You decide whether or not you want this person in your life. Now, listen, I said at the middle there, I was talking to the women during that part there where I just had to go and unravel that enchilada, get to the middle of the enchilada. But now, guys are not exempt in this part as this part right here as well. You all have free will as well and the power of choice. You don't have to settle. You also deserve the best that you deserve, plus some, right? And so you be wise as well. You stay wise. Pick them wisely. Affiliate wisely. I had to have this discussion because so oftentimes it's seen as the conclusions of relationships that have endured. When you hear a man say, oh, my child's mother is a beep, 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 beep. Oh, my ex-wife is a beep, 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 beep. Or oh, my ex-girlfriend is a beep, 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 beep. And the first thing I always wonder is, did you not have a say-so in this? You picked them. You decided to lay there with this person and risk the moment of procreation because, you know, there are methods and ways in which you could guard yourself from it. What? And ladies, also, we in here too, we have free will and choice. Yes, I've heard other women talk about their exes, their children's fathers, like they're nothing, and their ex-husbands. But I'm like, people, we're only reflecting on who we are when we say these things because truth be told, newsflash, you picked these people. You picked this energy. You invited this energy in your life. And that's why I'm here to just say, be mindful of the energies that you allow. As for women, the excuses and the circumstances of people that you allow to be around you. Guard your heart. Be mindful of the energies that come to distract you from completing or going forward with your legacy or your destiny. Be mindful of energies that are there to derail you on your journey. Likewise with men too. Be mindful. Be mindful, single people, of these energies, because take into consideration, we've been talking about energy, and I've given you this analogy where you hear people talk about people they have procreated life with. Like they're like, you know, they talk about that other person like they were not participating in the participation of the procreation. It only says a whole lot more about your character, the person that talks bad about their child's mother or their child's father. You were part and parcel of this. This was your decision making. Last time I checked. Now understand, if there are women that have been taken advantage of, which I empathize with as a victim twice, those situations I empathize with. But I'm talking about those that freely engage in relationships with people. Then when they do not turn out the way they want them to turn out, they bash the other person as if their decision-making processes were not part of it. So understand, the most important thing you want to do as you guard your energies is the energy exchange. So let's dive a little bit deeper, right? We go from, first of all, you want to understand who you are, what makes you move, loving yourself, adorning yourself, spoiling yourself, knowing that no one else can compare to treating you like you treat yourself. So whoever comes in your life better at least try to match up somehow in the terms of how you are already treating yourself, with abundant love and unconditional love and so forth, and with confidence in life, right? And knowing who you are, what makes you move, what makes you, what you want out of a person and what you don't want. Right. And so being unapologetically bold in what you want out of a relationship and what you don't want. If you quit smoking tobacco and you do not want to align yourself with smokers with the smoke tobacco energy, then what you don't do is compromise. Okay, you find a guy that has the superficial height, eye color. I call that stuff superficial because looks fade. But let's say they look the part like you like them. And so you overlook everything and you get with this energy. You know that this energy smokes, but you quit. And you're written on your little list or in your mind. You said, I can't do a smoker because I'm just freshly quit smoking tobacco. So don't compromise when it comes to things off that pertain to your life. Don't compromise, because you will find people out there that don't smoke tobacco if you have quit smoking tobacco, because now you get with that energy, and what happens with the energy pulls you way back down, right? Back to where you came from. Not all energy is good energy. All right. So, and once again, I say not all energy shows up in the preconceived notion of what the evil energy looks like, or evil looks like, which is like a little red devil with horns. That's not like how the energies show up. That's not how negative energies show up in your life to tear down your life and to tear your path down. You have to be discerning of energies that come into your life. This is how you could discern if an energy is draining you. If somebody comes into your life, and in your life as a single person, you've been on your A game, you've been on top of it, you're moving through, your finances are decent, all this other stuff. But this energy, the minute it comes into your life, your finances are depleting. You're kind of feeling chaotic. You're feeling confused. You're all discombobulated. You might want to reevaluate and go deep down within, because I'm trying to tell you all. Energy will come looking. That's why. Listen, when I was way younger, yeah, I wanted the handsome ones. I wanted the superficial with the outside and everything like that. But the older I grew, I realized that it's all about compatibility. The person that can match up with the mental, emotional, spiritual, and then just the person with the responsibilities taken care of and all this other stuff as the other part. That suffice the superficial looks and all this other stuff, only because I realized everybody that I said I was attracted to, who was my type, was the energies that tended to pull me all the way down. All right. Okay. So understanding that, let's keep moving with me, keep tracking with me now. So with these energies, to be mindful of your energy and your space. It's important. Having free will, having the power of choice is very important. We invite these energies into our space. These energies are going to come sometimes looking like that dream girl that you got a poster off in your room, if that's a thing still, or on your computer. And for women, maybe that dream guy. And that's why it's important to go deep within, to go past the superficiality, right? And to look for the building blocks, the things that sustain you as an individual. For me, it was the sheer responsibility. They have a place to live. They have transportation. They have a job. They're responsible people. They're emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually well and balanced. Substance free. That was mine right there. Those were my little, matrix right there. And of course there was little branches that came off of that as well. And so as we go in and dig deep with the energies that we invite, understanding that the vetting process starts when people come into our lives, because we allow these energies to come into our lives. I cannot tell you in how many fingers I have been really hurt as a woman when I've seen female friends allow this malevolent energy into their lives, into their spaces, comes in, steals, robs, pillages, leaves them bone dry, almost soul and spirit dry. Being mindful of the energies that enter our energy space is key. You have to be observant of your life before they entered. You have to be discerning of your life before these energies entered. Then you have to take an inventory of your life with these energies in your space. Okay, most of these things, we feel them in our intuition, in our gut. These are things that we feel, we sense, we know. Lean into that. Lean into that energy. You can even ask your spirit guides to help you reveal what it is that you're seeing. I remember this one particular moment, a person I was messing with that I shouldn't have been messing with. And it was one of those things where, I say child-free life. And I was in my addiction, but I leaned into, people with children because I needed drinking buddies and so forth. So it didn't really matter at that point in time. But I will never forget this part. Even in that addiction, my dreams had always come. My dreams have always spoken out to me. And I remember that night I was dealing with this person. They had a kid with this woman, so their child's mother, but they were not in a relationship. And I remember waking up. Actually, that night I had the dream, and the dream was the child's mother's name was Shantae. The child's mother, Shantae, was at this person's house in my dream. I awoke that morning like around 4:30, 5 a.m. and they lived close, like literally around the corner. This is back in the day when I still lived in my apartments. And so they lived like down the street from me. And I got into my car. I got up, left my apartment, locked it up, got in my car, drove down the street. I'm talking about like this. I got up around 4:35 a.m. It was dark outside, and I pulled up to this guy's house, right to the back where the family always uses the back door. And I pulled up to the back, and right as my car was pulling up to the back, he was coming out the back door with the baby in his arms. He was like 2 or 3 years old, with the toddler in his arms. And the child's mother, was like right there. So they were both coming outside. I kid you not. And that was it for me. But the point being is lean into it. There are so many, I had red flags, I had feelings, I had gut feelings, I had intuition, something wasn't right, but it took a revelation in my dreams to see that, to go and see it physically. So most of these things, family, single people out there, they stick out. They're showing you these red flags are always almost there. Sometimes if you feel like it's hard for you to see the red flags, ask your spirit guides to reveal them to you, to something that's more, maybe tangible. But the intuition, that gut feeling, is the strongest part. And like I was saying, it was so disheartening when you see people that are doing well in life, what you consider well, they taking care of themselves, their family, single people, and then they get this energy in their life, and it comes into their life, and it devours, consumes. I will never forget my goddaughter's mother. Beautiful lady, beautiful soul. She was on the top of her A game. She had risen up the ladder, doing good for herself. Her and I used to party this back in the day. We used to party, hang out and party. 2 Korea girls just partying. And, but she could not, this was one of those high school, this was college. She met this guy in college, but he was a drug dealer, and, he went to prison for 5 years. And like anything else is, we were young. She thought she loved this guy. Of course, she waited for him, but she was on top of her game. She had her own place. We were young girls. I had my own place. She had her own life going. We were just having a good time. Like life was just happening. Okay, whatever we wanted to do, we were just doing it. And all of a sudden, he gets released. I will never forget it. And she said that she was moving out there because when he got released, he had to like hang around that area because of parole or whatever for like a year or something like that. And it was like a small rural town in Kansas. And she said, I'm going out there. And I said, what are you going out there to do? You know, you got your life here. You're doing well here. Perhaps you could wait. She says, no, I'm going to go out there. We're going to go get married. Her mom tried to talk her out of it. I tried to talk her to staying, perhaps trying to see if he could finish his parole for a year and perhaps maybe move out here, you know. But she was determined. She went out there. And when she was out there, I believe they got married. Probably a few months later, she called me crying. She said, can you all come and get me? I'm trying to get a hold of my mama. I can't do this. Can you come get me? What's going on? What's going on? I can't. He's been cheating on me. He's been doing this. He's been doing that. He's been doing this. So long story short, she wound up still staying out there for that year. And they came back into town after his parole, whatever. They came back into town. But he wasn't trying to look for a job. So now she has to start rebuilding her life. She didn't have an apartment. She didn't have anything going. So she had to start rebuilding her life ground up. And she's rebuilding her life ground up. He's using up her car, her gas, her money. And as you have it, it's tumultuous. A beautiful life is created. My goddaughter. And he's not trying to work. She's stressed out. She gives birth to the baby premature because her blood pressure continued to run high. And so probably months after the baby's born, he takes her car, withdraws all the money out of the bank, and leaves. Gets out of Dodge. Of course, the only thing she could do is put out for a stolen vehicle. And I believe he was supposed to be contained in the state because they had transferred his paperwork or whatever it is, however that goes. So they wound up catching up to him. Car was totaled in Georgia and all kinds of things mounted down on him. Like he was not supposed to have been out of state, the state that he lived in. And so long story short, I've had to watch these types of energies come in, whisk in their charms, whether it be women or men, and pull them totally down. The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And that's why I say stick to somebody. If you have a whole table set up for yourself and your family or your child, you're a single mother, you're a single father, you're a single person, and you got your your utensils, your napkins, you got everything on your table. Let someone come in your life, bring things to the table. That's why earlier on it might have sounded like some tough love, but I'm just being serious because I know that as women, we have a tendency to want to fix. We're not saviors. We're not saviors. I've watched people's lives literally be pulled down by deceitful energies. And so and that's why I just want the message to be loud and clear, to be mindful of those energies you invite around you. At any point in time, you start to see a shift from your routine, who you are as a single person. It's time to disengage and it's time to sage. Okay? It's important to evaluate this because sometimes these things happen over some time, and by the time you look up, you've wasted 3 years, you've wasted 5 years. And this person, whoever, even if it's a woman for a man or a man for a woman that have come into your lives, or whoever, your partners that have come into your lives that you thought were the ones for you, have completely depleted you. Now your soul and spirit are frail. So that's why I say be mindful of these energies. They will come beautifully dressed. Watch young girls. I remember this one beautiful young girl. She was on top of her game, and she got conned by this married man who had 2, 3 kids, and she wound up having 2 kids by him. It became so messy because that wasn't even her character. The failure to recognize this energy, and this energy came in the guise of a childhood friend. So that's why it was easy to lean into it. All the lies he told her, all the deceit he played, she was blind to that. 2 kids in between, this tumultuous, her going back and forth with the wife, and the wife and her. Wife get pregnant, she gets pregnant, the wife gets pregnant, she gets pregnant. Competition going on, because once some of these dark energies come into your life, and let's go right into the point, right? Let me get all my adults on this little last part, and we'll be finishing up right here. Let's get the 18 and overs. No children in the room. 18 and overs. It is the point where there is energy exchange, where you have that ultimate sex with that person most times. Once you start to dabble into that sexual exchange, it's that energy exchange that happens at that point. Has anyone ever been out here and let's say you're on top of your A game, you're doing what you got to do, and all of a sudden you start messing around with somebody? And all of a sudden sometimes you start messing around with somebody, and sometimes your mannerisms start to be like theirs. Or perhaps you were always like a quiet, calm person or a chill person. You start to mess with this energy that's got nothing but rage in it. And then all of a sudden you sexually messing with this energy, that sexual exchange, that energy exchange. And all of a sudden you getting agitated. You getting a little bit frustrated. You getting a little bit temper going on. And that's not you. I'm trying to tell you, put your spiritual glasses on for this lesson. You can't understand or hear this lesson if you don't have your spiritual glasses. Yes, your spiritual glasses will help you listen to and see. And see. Trust and believe. Have you? Or do you know people that have, like this young girl that I've just talked about, the sweetest, most hardworking girl I ever knew? And that sex energy came in, that energy exchange came in, and I couldn't tell her anything. As my mentee, I could not detach her from this energy. I could not detach her from it. It was strong. There was a stronghold of that energy on her. Just to tell her, look, I don't know where you think this is going to go. Only 1% of affairs may end up in divorce and that person marrying the person they're having an affair with. 1%. And even there's a higher rate of those affairs lasting after the fact because, trust issues, how it started. Relationships are very predictable. You can predict how your relationship is going to succeed based on the foundation of your relationship. If you get together with somebody that's irresponsible, doesn't care nothing about nothing, super selfish, when you get in a relationship with them, don't think they will change. It just magnifies, and then you just get annoyed and irritated about it, and you just go telling everyone else about it, but that's exactly how you chose them, right? That's that free will part. So that's what I'm saying. Don't ignore these red flags or these energies and these entities, but be mindful. I know y'all probably have stories. Y'all probably have seen it. And, that's why I always urge people to put their spiritual glasses on, because most times on the surface, it's not noticeable without the spiritual glasses. Like, oh, that's what it is. Yes, that's what it is. It's not because a person is whipped. It's that energy exchange. This is so visible. Man, when we get deeper, and I'm wanting to go deeper with you, or when we talk, because the last part we're talking about the astral and projection and so forth, but when we get deeper, we'll talk about negative energies, and we can even talk about negative souls and so forth. But it's also more so when you understand how In this world we live in, there are some negative entities that are willing to latch on to whatever they could latch on that's not purified, that's not, if you don't have your spiritual regimen and so forth, and they're willing to have a good time on your ride. This is a spiritual glass moment. You got to put your spiritual goggles on. This should just not no regular eye could see this, right? For I have stories for days where people I knew just on top of their A game. But the minute they got together with Susie Sue, oh, they went downhill for the worse. Took them a long time to get back to where they were. Or the minute she got down with John Doe, oh, she went down for the worse. And not only that, some energies are here to try and kill your spirit and your soul, to just break that. Perhaps it's not that they pull you down financially, emotionally, mentally, but they want to break your spirit, break your soul. Abusive, just, the sweetest person you may have known, but got into a very horrible relationship, and that has a stronghold, mastered and combined and or bound by the energy exchange through that sexual intercourse. Right? You got to understand, this is nothing but spiritual goggles moment. You got to put your spiritual goggles moment. People are like, oh, and the one they're like, oh yeah, she's whipped. He's whipped. No. It's that energy. There are entities out here wanting to harvest from souls and spirits filled with nothing but darkness. The minute you sit here and exchange that sexual energy with them, it'll deplete your life. Next thing you know, you're getting fired from a job you've been working at for 15 years, but that entity you're with is jobless. It's never had a job. It's small wonder. They're accusing you at the job, but that entity that, sorry, I keep calling it entity, human being, but that energy that you got living in your house can't keep a job. They get accused all the time. Whatever is sitting on them is sitting on them in a stronghold. Guys, this is knowledge for those with the spiritual goggles. I'm trying to tell you. That's why I want you to be mindful. Life is about enjoying yourself on this journey. There's no fear mongering on here, but it's just about being mindful of the energies that we invite in our circle. Finding, if you want cleansing methods and rituals and so forth, we got that in the month of January. And don't be afraid to always start over. You can always start over, cleanse yourself, go deep within, heal your soul, heal your spirit from some of these events. But the best way to recognize it is to recognize it. And that's why we're having this dialogue. It's the dark negative energies that linger. We're going to go deeper sooner where I want to probably, we'll see. I don't want to say probably, and then, there's a lot on the docket, but because it's important to understand the negative energies that roam the streets. Oh, especially if you're light energy to this universe. It will come looking like your dream guy. It'll come looking like your dream girl. And that energy will come and wreak havoc in your life, chaos and dismay in your life. You find that I used to always be well budgeted in my accounts. I never went overdrawn. I always was on top of stuff. And next thing you know, you overdrawn like a mug. You out here struggling. You out here just, dang, what's going on? It's that energy. On the outside, looks like everything you always wanted. The sex is good. Everything is so freaking good in the bed. But every time you do that sexual exchange, that energy is just exchanging its negativity, its darkness within you. If you're not practicing on the right cleansing methods for yourself, you shouldn't really be having those types of energies in your home, in your dwelling space anyways. But don't learn the hard way. Some of you all with children in the house, you bring this dark negative energy because on the outside, this is what you want to tall, dark, and handsome in a suit. And the next thing you know, your kids just acting up because kids are so intuitive. Children are very intuitive and they just, all over acting like they itchy, they acting way weird and strange and just what's going on with the kids. It's this dark looming energy that's in your home. That's why I've always been a proponent of really cleansing your home, watching what comes in your home, who comes in your home, and don't be single people. Y'all watch y'all traffic too. No judging over here, zero judgment, but just, if you got a lot of traffic coming in and out, you might want to cleanse here and there. We got, a whole month's worth of January cleansing podcast to help you through that. But understand, like I said, this is spiritual goggles moment. I know those with no spiritual goggles right now, it's off. Like it just went. But I know my conscious community with the spiritual goggles, you know exactly what I'm talking about, especially when I talk about the energy exchange. Earlier on, in the last podcast, I talked about the ancient book of wisdom, talking about be ye evenly yoked, meaning that in the spiritual sense, your energy levels being being one, being together. If you are in a certain place in your life, you take on energies or dark, chaotic, negative, abusive, maybe even drug infested, addictive, just low vibrational energies. You take those energies into your house, let alone into your portal, into your portal, and you do that energy exchange, you chipping away little by little. Next thing you're wondering why you waking up so sad. So everything was happy-go-lucky. You were about to start this new business endeavor, but all of a sudden the bank called you said no, but they had said yes. You had signed the paperwork. What do you mean no? All of a sudden things are just going awry. Right? Oh no, it's time to evaluate the energies around you. And then think about this last note real quick. We've been talking about intimate relationships, significant others, the ones we bring into our fold, and for us women into our portal. And but listen, this here is also, you could take this as far as understanding as well the relationships you may have out of the intimate relationships. Perhaps you just found a new friend somewhere at the Starbucks or something like that. And perhaps you think, or maybe you found somebody, you were out networking and so forth. Be discerning and mindful of energies that come into your life. Take an inventory of your life. All of a sudden, you think this person will be a great fit for your company. You hired this person on, but you knew in your gut feeling, intuition, something was wrong with this energy here, and you get them in, but your little business has been striving. You out here 5 years just doing well, and all of a sudden this person comes onto the team, and all of a sudden stuff just going all over the place. Employees fighting, darkness looms, havoc, chaos, disruption. It's just not what you had. Put on your spiritual goggles. The energies we invite into our lives are detrimental to our souls and our spirits. I urge you to be mindful, single people. I urge you to be mindful of those that you invite around yourselves, your children, and your family members. Do you keep getting a reoccurring dream and are trying to figure out why you keep dreaming of the same dream? Or perhaps are you dreaming of teeth falling out? Or have you ever had a dream where you were naked and perhaps even naked in public? OMG, how embarrassing. Or perhaps you don't remember your dreams when you wake up. Well, check it out. Join us at the Dream Decoding podcast, where I teach you on how to train yourself to have a memory recall, and or I teach you on how to understand your dreams as it pertains to your current waking life. The importance of understanding the symbols and messages that we get in our dream realm is because sometimes these messages are coming to give us a good word and or to help us along the path. So don't miss out. Join us at the Dream Decoding podcast with your host, Memory.